Hello, my name is Jarrod Fairclough.
And I'm Joe Hennis.
And welcome to Introduce Our Guest Star, a podcast for toughpigs.com. In this show, Joe and I are taking it in turns to surprise each other with that week's guest, and this week it is my turn. Joe, you have a chance here to have a guess, to ask a few questions, have a guess. I'm very excited. That's all you know.
Yeah, so the mere fact that you told me how excited you are about this guest is a clue in itself.
Yep.
I'm the kind of person who, like, when someone tells me, like, oh, something is going to happen in this movie, it's like, well, now all I want to do is figure out what that thing is, and half the time I figure it out, and I'm sorely disappointed. So, that already, like, in the last couple of days as we've been planning this, I've been kind of thinking of, like, well, who could it be that Jarrod is so excited about? And I have a couple of thoughts, but at first I want to narrow it down, and I'll start with our big question: Muppets, Sesame, or Henson?
Muppets, but there is a little Henson in there.
Oh, okay. So the person who I was thinking would not have fallen under Muppets and a little Henson. It was Muppets. It would have been Muppet. It would have been something else. Okay, so all right.
Okay, Muppets,
all right.
a little Henson.
A little Henson. A little Henson.
Yeah.
Okay. Was this person? Is this person in Muppets Most Wanted?
No.
Oh boy. Okay. My guess number 2 is completely out the window. Okay. Muppets and a little Henson. Woof.
Yes.
Boy, oh boy.
I'm glad I've thrown you a little bit here.
You've completely thrown me. Is this person a performer, a Muppet performer?
No.
Oof. All right. Well, I'm all of my guesses were completely wrong. I am 100% unprepared. Congratulations, you stumped me. Who is our special guest?
Would you like? Well, do you want to have just a random stab in the dark?
Okay, so it's not a performer. It's someone who's worked with the Muppets and a little Henson.
Yep.
I'm gonna guess that it's Jim Lewis, Muppet writer Jim Lewis.
Incorrect. Joe, my guest today, has had a career unparalleled in Hollywood. He's won an Oscar. He has a Grammy or two. He's an actor, he's a singer, he's worked with some of the biggest names in the business, including the Carpenters, Barbra Streisand, and Helen Reddy. But he's perhaps best known, yep, you're excited, he's perhaps best known to us Muppet fans as the songwriter behind the songs from the Muppet Movie and Muppet Christmas Carol. Joe, this guy wrote Rainbow Connection. Would you please welcome to introduce our guest star, Paul Williams.
Paul Williams! I love Paul Williams!
Hi, Paul.
Hey,
Paul.
How are you?
How are you?
Wait a minute. Just got out of the shower. I got to make sure my hair is just right. You know, this is
perfect.
It's
Don't worry about
perfect
it.
for a podcast.
Perfect. You know, it's that recently electrocuted look that just works for the Muppets. What can I tell you?
It's
That's
true.
right, it's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Paul,
How
thank
are
you so much
guys?
for doing this.
Here he is. So, you know, for an old guy, it's holding up pretty good, huh?
You're looking great, Paul.
You know what? I mean, I'm 80. I turned 80 last September. And I
happy
feel
birthday.
I feel like a tired 34.
Excellent.
I do too, but
Yeah.
I'm maybe slightly closer to an actual 34. Just
An actual 34, yeah.
Well, I do too, but I'm only 31, so
you're a
probably not a
baby.
good sign.
I got sober when I was 49, and so, you know, it's been 30 years since then, and it feels like a second life. So I suppose I could say that, you know, spiritually at least, I'm 30, you know.
That's right.
And certainly in a lot better shape than I was then.
Well, thank you again for doing this. I've genuinely been so excited for the last couple of weeks knowing we were doing this.
Well, I'm happy to be here. You know, I mean, the most important, loving, caring, productive, fun collaboration of my career, you know, has been with the Henson crew and the Muppets, and it's just it's family, you know. So I'm beyond grateful to anybody that wants to talk about the Muppets. I'm right there, and this is Muppet Mindset, so I should be here.
Exactly right.
This is actually for Tough Pigs. Which,
It is. It's for both.
Yeah, it's for both sites. We're doing a little team up here.
Oh,
between the two of
nicely
us.
done. Oh, great. So I have
Yes.
a multi-level audience then. So.
That's
Gotcha.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all one level, just two sides of the same coin. I guess. I don't know.
It's like a black belt in silly. It's all that's required. You know.
That's true.
A black
That's a good
belt,
way of putting it.
belt in silly. I like that.
I
I
like
feel
that.
like we should have named that the podcast.
It's not too late.
No,
It's a little
it's
too late.
no, it's not.
Little
You
late.
can
That's
have
fine.
it. You can have it.
Great. I love it. I want to share for people who, the first time that you and I connected, Paul. This was, oh gosh, let me look back at my email here. This was back in 2012.
Wow.
A friend of mine, his name is Kevin, was going to a concert of yours, and he says to me, "Do you want me to pass a note along to Paul to see if would do an interview with Tough Pigs?" And I said, "Oh yeah, of course. Like, what are the odds it'll get to him?" And Kevin passed the note to somebody who passed the note to someone else who passed it along to you, and I got an email uh, from you, and I at first thought that someone was pranking me because why would Paul Williams be emailing me out of the blue? And you proved it was you because there was a photo attached from backstage of the Muppets at Carnegie Hall show that you
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
So it's a picture of the Muppet performers, their backs they've got the puppets up, they're behind a little curtain. Um, and you were so generous with your time that you invited me and my co-writer Ryan to your hotel, and we all sat over breakfast, and we did this long interview
I remember.
all about all of the amazing things that you've done with the Muppets and the Henson Company, and it was just such a treat to be able to, because we've heard your story before. I've read books that you've written. I saw the great documentary about you still alive, and we've got your life story, but to be able to really hone in on just Muppet Show, Muppet Movie, Emmet, Otter, Muppet Christmas Carol, Letters to Santa, and just you know dive
Yeah,
into every
yeah, yeah.
individual song. It was fantastic. So what a treat that was.
Yeah, well, it was great and good for me too. I mean, Tough Pigs is as soon as Tough Pigs was created, it became part of the family. So it's a pleasure to talk about all this stuff because it's the best stuff in my life. I mean, and I probably in some ways feel like everything I've written for the Muppets is I almost don't want to put my name on it because it just feels like it just pours out of me when it relates to these characters because I know them and I love them and they feel like family. I mean, Gonzo is as real to me as Dave Goelz is. So writing for these guys or writing for Emmett or Ma or I mean, if somebody really crass or awful says something or does something around my wife Mariana and I will turn to each other and go, "They seem nice." It's like, which is a callback to one of my favorite moments in Emmett Otter. It's just there's those those moments are just into our lives.
Yeah, and very much so for us too. I mean, obviously, for Jarrod and myself, we write about these things and talk about these things on a daily basis. It's kind of our bread and butter just to talk about Muppets. But
Yeah,
it's interesting to think of it as in terms of family.
yeah, yeah,
We're kind of like the third cousin twice removed,
yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit, because we don't get to be there on set. We don't get to create these things. But I mean, I don't know about you, Jarrod. I really do feel like I'm a part of it. We get
Yeah.
to talk to these people. We get to like
Yeah,
have a real voice.
I think we're really lucky because there's not a lot of giant fandoms in the world where the people, you know, involved in the production of these things are actually so close with the fans.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to see George Lucas, you know, doing an interview with, a Star Wars fan site, more than likely. You're not going to see Kevin Feige, doing podcasts with, just a little Marvel fan site. But the Muppet performers and the people behind Sesame Street and Henson and the Muppets at Disney, they all seem really intent on connecting with us and keeping with us.
Yeah.
So it is nice. It's nice to sort of feel like you're part of the bunch.
The other thing that I would say is, and it's funny because this is what I've always said about, there's another area in my life. There's a film called Phantom of the Paradise. It was 1974, and it's continued to grow. In a lot of the people that I've worked with through the years have been fans of either Phantom of the Paradise or Muppets. But one of the things that I have said, that, like in this little town Winnipeg, where they're the one place that treated Phantom of the Paradise like a monstrous hit when it was basically being ignored everywhere else. Building on that, they do a Phantom Palooza, every couple of years and all. What I've told them is that there's a huge part of my career that I owe to the devotion of I can't even call them fan at this point. It's like friends because what happened is nobody was paying attention to the film, so everybody that saw it and loved it would tell somebody, or everybody they met, you got to watch this film. You got to watch this film. So the fan base grew. The film was passed on from from dads to nephews and kids and the like. And all of a sudden, I've got somebody like Edgar Wright, who is a big fan of Phantom of the Paradise or Bugsy Malone, whatever. Some of these things, and all of a sudden he's reaching out. Or Guillermo del Toro, you're just finishing up the Pan's Labyrinth, which is hopefully going to wind up on stage. But the people that have hired me for some of the things I'm doing now, are even care to hear what I'm doing or whatever based on things that have a life today because of what you guys are doing right now. So this is a real full. I just did 2 years on Goliath, and the producer of Goliath, I walked in his Lawrence Sterling. I walked in his office. Billy Bob Thornton and I are friends, and Billy said, the producer wants to talk to you about a role on this. On Goliath, I walked into his office, and on his wall was a Phantom of the Paradise poster. I mean, this is my favorite meeting ever. I love it. But so it's a way to kind of bounce it back at you and say that the attention, the tough pigs, and now mindset, and the people through the years that have loved the work of the collective, the Muppet Collective, which also includes Kenny Ascher and I as the songwriters, or sometimes just like Emmet, Otter, just me as the songwriter. But there's just this large family of Muppet performers and the like. We all kind of share in the good works you guys do by kind of keeping it alive. You're obsessed, totally unhealthy, but we love you.
That's what my therapist says.
It's funny you talk about people who found the Phantom of the Paradise, whether they were among the few who saw it originally or they found it much later, and like they're kind of part of this little club of cult fans, and I always felt like that was a really good descriptor of both Muppet fans, because there are fewer of us than there are compared to Star Wars or Marvel or whatever it is, as well as like the Muppets themselves. The Muppets have always been kind of like these. Like within the world of the Muppet Show, they're kind of failures at what they're doing. They're still putting on that show, but like nobody's coming to see it. Say that again, Jarrod?
They're kind of underdogs a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's that underdog thing, and we all kind of want to be that underdog because you get to be kind of king of the heap when you're an underdog.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that in some of the things that the Muppets have done, the Jimmy Stewart, every frog, that is Kermit the Frog, we get to see him doubt himself. I mean, it's like in the I'm going to go back there someday scene in the desert. He's off wandering and going, talking to himself, going, I let me down, it's recreated in a couple of places in where he just I think one of to jump to Rainbow Connection, but just, and this takes us right to Rainbow Connection. There's a beautiful thing that happens in the song when it starts, where Kenny and I wrote ourselves into a corner. I think I've told you that story before. But Kenny and I started.
But I love hearing it. So yeah.
Why are there so many songs about So we're trying to write this great this I Am song for Kermit, and it's really meaningful to us. We want it to be as good as When You Wish Upon a Star. That's where we've set our sights. It's Kermit sitting in the swamp on a lily pad, turned out to be a log. Easier to hide Jim on a log. but it's like, okay, what's this going to be? What's the situation, Jim? He said, well, what's he doing? He's got a banjo. Okay, he loves music and all. So we sit down to write this song. We write, why are there so many songs about rainbows? What's not? Because all he's got, he's got water, he's got air, he's got rainbows. That's what a frog has to, if he has a spiritual life, it's because these things appear in the sky every now and then. Why are there so many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. Congratulations. We just wrote ourselves into a corner that denies all the magic in a rainbow. And what I've always believed is that a problem is an opportunity to do something. It's no is a gift. This is at a point where all of a sudden we're forced to do something that is perfect for Kermit. He steps away from being the instructor, the teacher, the guy at the podium, and he sings, "So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know the run." In other words, he becomes an audience member. And that moment when Kermit becomes an audience member takes all the leader, the visible or ego-driven leader, or that sort of veneer of respect for this character that keeps me from being able to go over and poke his shoulder and go, "Oh, geez," all of a sudden he's right there sitting next to me in the audience. "So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong. Wait and see. Someday we'll find it." And it's with that "we'll find it," he becomes a seeker, like the rest of the audience, like you guys, like all of us. And there's no way in the world that Kenny and I ever thought that through and decided to do it that way. It just came out of us, and it was like, Jesus, that's pretty good. Whoever is up there doing this work, we'd like to know. We really appreciate it. And if we knew who you were, we'd put your name on it too. Life's like a movie.
So, Rainbow Connection. All right, you get told that you're going to write the songs for the first Muppet movie. Rainbow Connection in particular, what are you told when it comes to writing that? Are you told, we want a song about Kermit sort of being a bit wistful and sort of hopeful? Or are you just told, Kermit needs to sing a song, go?
Yeah, that's it right there, By the time we did it, I had done I'd done Emmet, Otter with Jim. And I mean, the last thing I know anything about is Americana music. I mean, I just, so you just write for character and you write for story, and I think that there's enough a Muppet in my DNA, whatever, that I get it. I mean, I get the characters, I get their humor, and I get their, I get the sentimentality, I get the hope and there's as huge a star as Kermit is, there's small town swamp in him, or small swamp in him, No, it's interesting. I actually said to Jim, and I've told this. People say, "What's it like to work with Jim Henson?" And the story that I always tell is that after a meeting at my house in the Hollywood Hills with Frank Oz and Jim and Jerry Jewell and Kenny and I, talking about what the basic story was. It's a road picture, how the Muppets got together, whatever, la la la, and walking Jim to his car. I just said, Jim, we're not going to, this is a big deal. This is your first feature. We're not going to mess this up. We're not going to surprise you. I'll show you while we're working on the songs what the ideas are, kind of where we're headed. And he said, "Oh, Paul, that's okay. I'll hear him in the studio when we record." And it's like, wow. Understand that I had, this was 1979. 1976, I did A Star Is Born, and Barbra Streisand works very differently from the way Jim did. I mean, so there was a lot of input, a lot of solid connectedness about showing her what we were working on along the way. We'd get ideas every Monday. It seemed like we'd get ideas, and she was spot on. I mean, it was interesting. So obviously, the success of the film was huge. But they're very totally different. And what I felt about Jim was that he trusted his instincts. He trusted that the person that he asked to do the job. And I think Steve Whitmer talks about that collaborative freedom with Jim, and as long as it was true to the character, a Muppet would say that, or a Muppet would, Kermit wouldn't say that, or Kermit might not say that, or whatever. But so that's just the freedom to let the characters speak to you, let the story speak to you. I tell the story of writing the first song for because Disney wanted the first song to be about Scrooge's "I Am" song. I had no idea how to do that, but the character spoke to me, so I just, went out to to a little park. I sat down with a little hand tape recorder, and I had read the script and I'd read the book, and it's like, the okay, big amigo, or whoever's up there working on this stuff. When you get an idea how to do this, let me know. And I just basically, I tell this story a lot because it's got a great lesson in it. What I did was I picked up a Lawrence Block novel. I'm reading a bloody mystery while I'm supposed to be writing a Scrooge's song. And at a certain point, about 3 pages in, I put it down and I went, okay. Then I clicked the recorder and I went, okay, we know he's walking along. We've seen his feet. When he goes by these little characters, they seem to be colder. So it's like, just boom, 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 bada boom, boom. Get a little tension there. When a cold wind blows, it chills you to the bone. But there's nothing in nature that freezes your heart like years of being alone. Jesus. Wow, that's really good. And I'd like to tell you that I had sat there and went, well, he's been alone all these years and everything, so that's why I never thought any of that. But my unconscious reached up and grabbed that out of all those elements. And I think the lesson in it for all of us is as whether we're writers or artists or plumbers or whatever, plumbers can be very, very, very spiritual and very creative. Witness Gonzo, but the fact is that there's great power in turning something over and trusting your unconscious and let your unconscious really guide you. It's I've always said I do my best work when I'm lost, and it's just and that's probably as much as I can share with anybody about how to write or how to do anything. I wrote an affirmation in one of the book you were talking about. You read Gratitude and Trust, the affirmation of, I don't know how to do this, but something inside me does. Trust that it's inside you. God, I just had talk about Mr. Preachy. Well, anyway.
I'm curious when you so when you got the job to do the Muppet Movie, you kind of already had a story that was in place that you kind of had an idea of where the songs would likely go. Same with Emmet Otter because it came from a book, so you knew exactly where they were going to go. And definitely Christmas Carol, same reason. So when it came to Letters to Santa, because I know that also came from your own pitch. So did you already know what songs, did the songs kind of come first in your mind, or did you wait until there was a script and then you kind of went into songwriting mode?
I think that I went in and I pitched it with I wrote I Wish I Could Be Santa Claus, and I wrote I think a couple things and showed. My connection at Disney at that time was with Muppet section of what they actually called the Muppet subsection of Disney at that time was Muppet something. What was it?
Muppet Studios, probably.
Yeah. There was a slightly different name, Muppet something. At any rate,
was it the Muppets Holding Company? Because I know that was a thing.
Exactly, Muppets Holding Company at Disney.
Yeah, which means nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But I was friends with Kevin Frawley from years ago, whatever. At I think when he was involved in the parks and all. But I was just lying in bed one day, and with Mariana, we were going to sleep or just gotten up or whatever, and I said, I got a weird idea. I said, for the Muppets. She said, what? I said, well, what if they're it's Christmas time and they're going to go mail some stuff and they get to screwing around at the post office and they mess up everything and letters are flying and everything, and they come back home and they find some letters to Santa that they didn't mean to take out of the post office, but they were stuck in Gonzo's backpack, whatever. And let's just have the story of how they try to get to Santa Claus to deliver the letters and how they fail at it, except they don't. And so I called, I wrote, I think, maybe 2 pages and sent it to Kevin. And he said, come on over. And I don't remember how, if I had outlined anything about the songs in this specifically, but I think I may have. I think that when we presented it to the big boss at Disney, who would greenlight a production. By then, I had written. I'm going to go back there. No, see, I'm going to go back. I had written letters to. I wish it could be Santa Claus. I think I'd written the post office number. Give it up for the folks in Grace. Some applause for the postal service. Wow. Boy, they could use a little love right now, couldn't they?
That's true.
They did pull off the vote by mail, though. By God, they managed to under the worst.
That's right. All thanks to your song, I think. I think they were all singing the song.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were. And but it was just it's the interesting thing about writing for audiovisual, for either movies or television or the stage, is that you have characters to be true to, and you want to write instead of trying to write. A lot of songwriters try to write a hit song for the show, and the way to, I think, succeed is you write for to advance the story, and if you can put something in a song that that you don't need to talk about in a scene, that may be the right thing to do, and advance and what's the inner life of the character like? What's Gonzo thinking at the moment when they can't find their way to Santa's to deliver that they're going to ruin this little girl's Christmas, And what does he want? He wants to be able to take care of this little girl. I wish I could be Santa Claus for just one day. I'd fill a bag with kindness and I'd give it all away. I'd make the world a better place. I'd do that if I could. I love the way it feels inside when I do something good. It's the story, and the humor of all of a sudden Fozzie. I wish I could be Santa Claus. Imagine that. Although I could not fill his boots, I'd look great in his hat. I love the milk and cookies, and there's one more thing I do. I try to teach the kids to be a little more like you. I mean, that may be my favorite song, the second or third favorite song I ever wrote for the Muppets, because it's on their sleeve about how sweet they are and how kind. One size fits all. As the bridge says, we know that love can fill the heart when tears begin to fall, and we know that love is the blessing of the season, the greatest gift, and yet one size fits all. I just, every now and then you write something that you go, wow, that's going to be a big Christmas song. I have never written a big Christmas song. I keep going, that's the one that's going to bounce out there and be a part of everybody's Christmas. No, there's just someday, maybe.
Well,
someday.
Look, I'll tell you for myself, the Muppet Christmas Carol soundtrack is a big part of my Christmas.
Same here.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Scrooge is one of my favorite Muppet songs. One More Sleep Till Christmas. Even Marley and Marley, I love.
Thank you.
So don't worry. It's big in my Christmas.
It feels like Christmas, in my personal opinion, is the greatest Christmas song of all time. Like, if I'm ever putting together a Christmas mix, it feels like Christmas is number one on there every single time. That's it for me.
You should be You should be out there working my songs to make it feel that. That's and their labors of love, And the thing is that I've had things that got attention so long after I wrote them. It will amaze you, and but I'm really proud of all the songs for the Muppet projects, because they're just they belong in a family album, and I was lucky enough to be adopted by Jim Henson.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've written so many classic songs, not just for the Muppets, but for Helen Reddy and the Carpenters and stuff like that. What is it, do you think, though, that is making these songs for the Muppets so everlasting? Like, you find that you're talking about them more than you're talking about, say, You and Me Against the World or anything like that?
I think that what those songs have is Jim Henson. I think that what those songs have is Jim Henson. I think that there was a way that Jim Henson made me feel, and his creations made me feel that just, it's family, and it's family I have felt in my DNA. It's just, I am so touched by those characters. I feel like, and I think other people are the same. I think that we feel that that those characters are so important to us. They're so well loved and so well known. There's something that what I was writing about, I knew really well because I'm a Monsters fan. The best part of being a songwriter is you don't have to give up your fan card. I can, I talk about, standing in a room and if Paul McCartney walks in a room or Quincy Jones, like there's a part of me that goes, I mean, I've known Quincy for 50 years, I think, but when I see Quincy Jones, I go, man, damn, that's Quincy Jones. Maybe it's time for one more selfie. It's just
Yeah.
it's where I go. I never stop being a fan.
That's it's something I've talked about a lot as well because I've been lucky enough to be on some Muppet sets here and there and do some interviews like this and I'm always obviously, especially the first 5-10 years I was working with Tough Pigs, always a little nervous when I got to meet these people that I considered to be huge celebrities, and
Yeah.
yourself included, of course, when we first met. But over time, it gets a little bit easier every time. But there was always a couple of people that every time I'd see them, it made me I completely geek out. It made me very nervous. The two people
Who are
were
they? Tell me.
always
Tell me.
Frank Oz. I am completely tongue tied in front of Frank Oz. I can't do it. And unfortunately, he passed away recently. But Carol Spinney, I was always very,
Oh
and of
yeah,
course they're both the
yeah,
nicest guys. But I had a really hard time keeping my cool around Carol and Frank.
yeah. I'm going east to break into children's television. Wow.
That's right.
Yeah, oh my God. Oh yeah. See, that's that level of endearment of that Jim would let you in on what was going on, that you became an insider, because the kids watching that, wouldn't understand what he was talking about, but at that moment, what Big Bird's sharing. But yeah, I have that same thing. And I can go a year without talking to Dave Gold, and when I get an email from him or something's coming up and we realize we're going to have a chance to do something, or he does something really generous, like Michael Cimino did a thing with the London Symphony, and he had Gonzo show up and sing "I'm going to go back there someday" because he was a fan. So they did a thing with the screen composers, and they gave an award to Charlie Fox and myself, and it was a joint evening, and we both had some people show up. The last thing I expected was Michael Cimino showed up, and that might have been just I think he was actually the music director for the evening. But who comes waltzing out but Dave and Gonzo? And that wasn't Dave and a character that carries with him. It was Gonzo, who always seems to be followed by Dave everywhere he goes. Uh, so that passion for the characters and for the amazing Muppet actors and performers, Muppet performers. I can't even. It just doesn't feel right to even say that. It's like to kind of put that. Gonzo will be performed tonight by. No. There's Gonzo and there's Dave. And I think I told Tough Pigs in the interview. I said if I was talking to Jim and Frank and they had Piggy and Kermit with them, there were five of us in the conversation. Because Piggy would say things to me that Jim would be shocked by and would never say, or that Frank would be shocked by and never say,
It's
but
true. I mean,
yeah,
Jim
It's a
used to
weird.
talk
It's a
about. Sorry,
go.
Jim used to talk about how he would be doing interviews, and if he's got Kermit on his arm, nobody's looking at the guy in the beard. Like it's
yeah,
all about Kermit, and I feel like on a different level, it's the same for all of us because for Jarrod and I, we are talking about these properties that we love. We're writing commentaries and reviews about them, and it's never about us. It's always about the work. And I
Mhm.
think it's the same for you as well, Paul. Correct me if I'm wrong, but especially when writing for the Muppets, it's like we all should be rightfully, giving a lot of gratitude toward you for creating these amazing songs, but it's the Muppets who really brought them to life, and
Yeah,
they're the star of the
exactly.
show. Yeah.
And they inspire them. One more step before, beyond that, beyond the fact that they deliver them when they're done, they inspire them. They gave me
Hmm.
the opportunity
Absolutely.
to let this love for who they are come through. So and the best, I love the songs that Kenny and I wrote. Kenny and I wrote all the songs for the Muppet Movie, and the other ones I've done alone, Muppet Christmas Carol, and Emmet and the like. But the ones that Kenny wrote the music to are really, really magnificent melodies, but yeah, it's kind of on both sides of it. It's like it's the songs were performed by them and created for them out of just pure fan love, I guess, or friend love. I mean, this is
Mm.
friendship. This is not fandom.
Yeah.
Besides tough,
Yeah.
what's really smart about Tough Pigs, incidentally, and Muppet Mindset, is that
Tell
there's
tell
an
me,
edge.
please.
There. No, what? First of all, the name Tough Pigs. I mean, and choosing that as your bumper sticker. It's just don't.
Hmm.
It's like don't screw with us. Wait a minute. We are Tough Pigs. You want us to come
Yeah.
out to your house. It's like there's when I was a kid, and I don't even know if you'll even know who this is, but one of the most fascinating people in the world to me, and I couldn't get enough of him. Was a piano player, who became an actor, who was a huge drug addict and crazy person named Oscar Levant. You know who Oscar Levant was? You may not.
I
Yeah,
don't think so.
okay.
No.
No. No.
Check out Oscar Levant. Oscar Levant, if you look at God, what is a huge Gene Kelly movie that takes place in Paris?
An American
His
in Paris.
An American in Paris, and
Hmm.
the squinting, smoking all the time, neurotic piano player buddy is Oscar Levant. Oscar Levant
Ah, gotcha.
was brilliant. And I mean, I was like 13, and he had a local television show out here, and I'd watch it, and I knew that what he was saying was bizarre and brilliant, and I didn't understand any of it, but I got the energy of it. And there's an energy, and now this is a big, huge leap. Like sometimes it's exhausting being me, but but to make that leap back to at 13, how I loved Oscar Man, that part of me still loves the fact you called your show Tough Pigs. It's like, don't screw with us. We'll come over there.
Yeah.
Don't make
Yeah.
me come back there.
We've got
You get
opinions
it.
and we're not afraid to
Yeah.
use them. You know.
Exactly. And the thing is that they are based on pure emotion, so facts have nothing to do with this. Oh
I
my
mean, thank
God!
goodness, because when because people do call us out on the fact that we sometimes tweak the facts a little bit to fit our opinions. But
Yeah,
whatever,
It's
it's our
fine.
yeah.
website. We're
It's
gonna do
fine.
whatever we want. So there you
Wow.
go.
So can I ask you, Paul? You talk about the songs from the Muppet movie. Can you picture that? That where did that song come from? Because as if you sort of go through that thing line by line, it's just a mixture of sort of nothing that goes together.
Yeah,
So talk about the creation of that song.
it's right out of the script that that they paint this and the brilliance of it. And I don't even know if I caught that in the script when we wrote the song. Is that it would eventually pull up in front of a billboard, and the universe would conspire to make the lineups perfectly, so that they would not be seen as the truck chasing them goes driving, flying right by, whatever. Um, okay, I'm 80 years old. Right? That means that in the 60s, which was the essence of the kind of the heart of the drug culture beginning, whatever. I was, I really dove right in and tried to do it what everybody else was doing, and they quit when they hit about 28, and I quit when I hit 49. I'm 30 years sober, right? So there is this kind of bebop this kind of bebop, hippie, hipster that is the kind of is the essence of the character of Dr. Teeth, and of course Floyd, and it's just, I mean, again, the song kind of comes out of who the characters are, because Floyd, if Dr. Teeth is going to sing a song at that moment while they're painting his car, it's not going to be, I'm painting the car right now. It's going to go slower because it's yellow. Or if it's a red car, no, he's not going to do that. He's going to go Aurora Borealis shining down on Dallas. Can you picture that? And the lesson in the song is that what you dwell on, you create. That's basically my personal philosophy, a spiritual philosophy, is I believe that what we dwell on, we create. If you sit around going, I'm not going to get that job. I'm not going to get that job. I'm not going to get that job. Well, you're putting that out to the universe and going, it's praying to not get that job. So I can manifest something that is negative or positive. And that's what I believe. That's all of a sudden, turns out that Dr. Teeth and I are members of the same church. Because he just, what's the first line of the song? I'm trying to remember how it starts.
Anybody's lover,
And
everybody's
anybody's
brother.
lover, everybody's lover. In the nighttime friend. Crazy as it was, anyway. But
Yep.
the heart of the song is in this kind of drugged, belief in this kind of mystical powers. Fact is, there's nothing out there you can't do. Yes, even Santa Claus believes in you. Take
That's a
down the
great line.
wall, take down the walls, begin, behold, so it begat, be an up and comer, be a better drummer. Can you picture that? It's just, it's as if they write the songs. It's the only way I can explain it.
It's like they
Now
get
the Eiffel,
channeled through you, through your pen.
exactly. Now the
Yeah.
Eiffel Tower is holding up a flower. Can you picture that? Anybody that would write something like that or sing something like that, well, because of the Muppets, you no longer have to experience psilocybin or mushrooms to get that. Because the Muppets gave it to you. It's like, it expands it's a spiritual growth, and it expands your consciousness just by listening to the song. So the song is, I guess, kind of musical psilocybin, musical
I love
mushrooms.
that.
There you go.
I love
I
that.
love it. Musical mushrooms. And I got to tell you,
Yeah.
to watch these guys uh, performing live up in San Francisco, which they did, what was that, like a year ago?
That was a
Yeah,
couple of years ago now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Pre-pandemic craziness. I loved it. I mean, the late 60s was, it's funny. I'm just finished working on basically two projects that take place in 1969, and one of them is called Freak Power, and it's about Hunter Thompson's run for sheriff in Aspen, and it's all archival footage. If you get a chance, watch it. It's really interesting because it is full of footage for like the Chicago Democratic Convention, when everybody got beat up by the cops and all. But there's all this stuff that's going on in 1969 that is still happening, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not to sit down and promote the things I'm doing now, but again, the the caring of the people that have heard the word and sticking to it have propelled it forward. I mean, the new Portugal the Man single, I wrote the lyrics to, and if you're a Portugal the fan, and Portugal the Man fan, um, check it out for sure. It's just, that's, I love my life, and my life has been handed to me at this point, which includes 12 years at ASCAP, has really been handed to me. The musical opportunities that I get today uh, were handed to me by the people that love the Muppets and the stuff that kept it alive through the years.
It's terrific. You were talking earlier about writing songs that help push the story along. And you were interviewed recently about When Love Is Gone. from Muppet Christmas Carol. I don't know how often you revisit that movie, but like, does it always like kind of sting a little bit when you get to that part of the movie and suddenly there's something missing? Like
Yeah,
Rizzo's crying and Scrooge is crying, and we don't know why.
yeah. And why is it sung at the end of the movie? You know,
Yeah, right.
well, you
During the
know,
credits. Yeah.
I think there were, you know, they put it back in and what, and it was at the DVD release and what it's the, you know, so sometimes
Yeah,
it's
like
in there and sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's a roll of the dice that it happened. You know, I think that trying to do the right thing, sometimes the wrong thing is done, and I think that was the case. You know, by Jeffrey, what's his name that ran Disney at the time. Um, the song is key to this story. It's it's key to what happened to Scrooge and what it cost him and why it hardened his heart. And the performance by by Michael in that moment is one of the most beautiful, uh, heart wrenching. You know, it's him sitting there and watching, you know, Belle and the younger version of himself, uh, having their that moment where he has made a huge mistake and he hasn't paid
Hmm.
attention to the young love of his wife, and she's saying, you know, that the love is gone. You know, there was a time when I was sure that you and I were truly one, that our future was forever and would never come undone. And we came so close to being close. And though you care for me, there's distance in your eyes tonight. So we're not meant to be. The love is gone. I'll tell you what I do feel great pride in about that song. Is I feel great pride about that melody. I think it's one of the best melodies I ever wrote, and I think it's you know, again, it's inspired by the story. It's a brilliant story,
Hmm.
and I think that to have that, you know, in Wizard of Oz, they cut or had already decided it was out of the picture. There was no. It was decided by the head of the studio that kids would not sit still for somewhere over the rainbow. That it slowed the movie down too much, and they begged, they pleaded, they were back and forth, and about a week before they wrapped the picture, or before it was a lockdown on all effects, music, and everything, they put the song back in. Uh, I always felt that song, "When Love Is Gone," I didn't know that if it was going to be a big hit or not, but I knew that it was key to the picture to me. And the roll of the dice is that Jeffrey did what he thought. Jeffrey Katzenberg,
Katzenberg. Yep.
evidently said, no, this is going to be a better movie for the kids without that song. And it's a choice he made. And he gets to be Jeffrey Katzenberg, and I get to be Paul Williams, and I respect him for doing it. I wish they'd put it back. I think it's at this point
Yep.
it's a better picture with the song in.
I believe you can now
Absolutely.
see it. Is it on Disney Plus? I think it's in the
S-
special features of Disney Plus.
Right. So according to Brian Henson, in that article that you were quoted in recently, Paul, the they don't have the original film reels from that scene. They can't find them. They're
Yeah,
lost somewhere in
yeah,
the Disney vaults. So they could edit it back into the movie like it's supposed to be, but the quality will have a shift and it won't look right. So
yeah,
on Disney Plus and on the recent Blu-ray release, it's only a special feature. You have to kind of stop the movie, go to the special feature, watch the song, then go back into the
yeah,
movie, which by the way is
Mm.
what we
yeah,
do whenever we watch Muppet
Hmm.
Christmas Carol.
yeah. Oh, I love that thing.
I was going to say, if anyone hasn't heard it, Meredith Braun, who sang that song originally in the movie, did a re-release of it a couple of years ago, and it is gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. She's just stunning in the film, and yeah, it's you just have to accept things like that. You kind of roll with it. Um, uh, the gift in it is to have the. I wish people knew how much it meant to me to have the kind of messages that I get, whether it's on my Instagram account, which is Polylama 2, or I am Paul Williams, my Twitter account. I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter, but I do on Instagram, and to to get the kind of messages that I do, and sometimes I'll just jump on a conversation and just read it and see people talking about how crazy they were to take that song out and how horrific it is that they did that and blah blah. And it's really touching and really meaningful to me to see people so passionate as thank very much you guys are so it's just it's one of the things you live with and the gift on the other side of it is to see that people are outraged or really miss the song being in there. So I love that.
Well, and I'm grateful that the song does still exist on the Blu-ray, on Disney Plus, on the DVD, and it's on the soundtrack. We can revisit whenever we want. Which, speaking of which, the last couple of years, this Emmet Otter resurgence that we've been so lucky to
Yeah.
have, and to actually get the Emmet Otter soundtrack on vinyl, which for me is like my mind completely exploded. I will say years ago, I'm talking like 15 years ago, Craig Shemin from the Jim Henson Company, Jim Henson
Yeah,
Legacy,
exactly.
gave me a DVD, like a burned DVD of Emmet Otter that the Henson Legacy had created that they wanted to be the DVD release, but then there were edits and they didn't use it. And he had included special features on the DVD, which weren't on the officially released one. One of them was just a like a slideshow of behind the scenes photos, but behind the slideshow was the soundtrack, all the songs in full with the extra verses, with all the stuff that's now added onto the new record with the incidental music during the talent show and like the little piano riffs, things like that. And so I had recorded the whole thing off of the DVD so I could have my own version of the soundtrack, which
I
was
love it.
worked well for me, but I needed it to be in like the great quality version that we would eventually get. And of course, like it's always better to share with everybody. So I'm just super grateful that soundtrack exists.
I have to compliment the guys that managed the engineering of that, because what we were able to find, the only thing we could find, and certainly I just found in my I have a storage unit, and I just found what I haven't listened to it yet, but I found reel to reel of that score, and so maybe a much better quality. But the only thing we had when we released it was I had done for the playback for the Muppets to do the lip sync. I had done a mix with the voices way out front, and the piano and the drum, the whole track, the music behind it was way down. So it's like you almost couldn't hear it. You could hear it just enough to. I think it was maybe had a little boost in the drums or something, so that they could stay in time and sing the songs. They took that, and I mean, if you listen to that, what I gave them, and you go, well, they can't release that. They can't. You're just not going to be able to fix that to make it sound like it's was intentionally mixed, the right way. They pulled it off. I think it's considered where it came from. They did a magnificent job. So it sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
I love it. I love it. It's a Christmas classic, I mean, it's funny, even though the songs aren't specifically about Christmas, there's something so innately Christmas about it that I just I'm in love with.
It's funny. I had never seen it. I had never seen it up until a couple of years ago, and then Joe said to me, "You need to watch it. You need to watch it now." So I think I just stopped and went, "All right, I'm going to watch it. It's 45 minutes, okay." And then I finished, and I think the first thing I wrote was, "All right, I get it. I get it.
I love
It's
that,
incredible."
Jarrod, are you from Australia?
I am.
Where are you yeah, I
Melbourne.
thought it's yeah. Oh my God, fantastic city. I thought I was so Emmet Otter it was shown the first time long before you were born, but I wonder if it has an audience there in Australia at all.
Look, quite possibly. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I'm gonna run through the streets of Melbourne just with a big sign that says "Watch Emmet Otter's Jugband Christmas."
I love that. Thank you.
Emmet Otter Down Under.
It will at some point we'll probably wind up down there as a stage musical, because
Yes.
we were supposed to be opening on Broadway and at the Newvic Theater and with Emmet Otter and as a full tilt, Broadway musical, and COVID put an end to that. So
Oh,
at this point, we're set for 2021, and I hope that they just moved the schedule back. But it's got a couple new songs in it, including I wrote a song called "Alice Keep Dreaming," which is for the ghost of Pa to sing. I don't know. Did you get a chance to see it at all, Joe? When it
yeah.
was
I
at
went up to the Opera
Goodspeed?
House. Yeah, I saw it at
Yeah.
Goodspeed the first year you guys did it, because I know you did it 2 years in a row, and then I saw the 54 Below uh,
Oh yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
show, which was advertised as, well, we're just going to do the songs, and I thought,
Yeah.
great, I love the songs, I'll be there, and then the show was, I mean, Paul, you were there, but like the show was, they brought all the puppets out. They're still like they're basically reading the script. It was a like a pared
It
down
was a
version
table
of
read.
the entire play.
A table read, basically. Yeah,
Yeah,
with
it was. It was
with
so much
Muppets. Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
yeah. I think
and
it's going to
Marilyn
have a
Sokol
big
came, which was
future.
great. Hmm.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my God.
yeah. Which
Oh,
actually,
I
I
am.
had just met her a few days beforehand, and I said, "Are you going to be at the show?" And she said, "What show?" And I'm like, "Well, you gotta go." And so I don't know if I'm going to take credit for making sure that she was there, but I'm gonna maybe a
She
little bit,
was.
but
Yeah, yeah. And I was thrilled to introduce her to the audience as well. Thank you, man. That was very cool, Joe.
oh,
I
of
mean
course,
that
of
you
course,
yeah that you managed to pass that on to her. Michael McDonald and Chris Catelli wrote the book based on the show and expanded it. We've worked on it a little bit and I like, but they've been great. And huge fans of the show, and Chris is directing it, so we're deep in it with that. So it's
it's
exciting. I
such a
think
good show. It's
it's
such a great
interesting because
adaptation. Hmm.
thank you. Well, it's interesting because there's certain things that will click with countries. Bugsy Malone has never been a big deal here in this country, but in England, it's like Greece. Every kid, grows up doing Bugsy Malone at school, and it's just but but I spent a lot of time in Australia, probably every 2 years. One of my great friends there was a iconic broadcaster named John Lawsey.
Yes.
And
Yes. No John Laws.
John was really interesting, fun, generous guy, and we did drink in those days. And that's where I would go to feel like this drinking man, because I'd pick up a can of Foster's, which is about the size of a pony keg, and then go, "Oh my God, I'm shrinking."
Well, Paul,
Yeah,
next time you're in Melbourne, look me up and I'll take you out for dinner.
we'll jump on the streetcar and take it downtown and have a great dinner. I would love that, yeah, and I'm quite serious.
Yes, as am I. Now we're sort of we've taken up a lot of your time so far. But before we get to the last part, though, I do want to say you were a guest on the Muppet Show.
Yes, I
Very
was.
early on. I don't even think the Muppet Show had aired yet. I know they were having trouble getting guests in that first year as well. So how did you become one of the early guests?
You know what? I think Jim had seen me a bunch on the Tonight Show. I did, and I was a time in my life when I was if you put down a couch and a camera or I was as addicted to the attention I was getting as I was to the drugs that took over in the later years till I got sober. But I think that Jim was, as I understand it, was attracted to the songs. He liked what I wrote, and the humor. So they asked me. I think the first season that they asked me to do. I think I was like one of the maybe the fifth or sixth guest star on the series the first year. And I walked on the set, and I had done one other thing that while I was in England, I also shot a Hudson Brothers. I don't know if you know who the Hudson Brothers were, but they had they're great songwriters, and they had a show in London at the same time. So I went over and did the Hudson Brothers show, and then I did the Muppet show. And I think while I was on the Hudson Brothers show, I managed to walk into a wire, probably, and God knows what kind of shit. Actually, I wasn't that bad in the '70s. The '80s is when my addiction ran away with me. But I had walked into a wire, so I had during the whole time that I was on doing the Hudson Brothers show, they had to hide this big mark on my forehead that looked like like an L or something on my forehead. And I think that when I walked into the Muppet show, I don't remember if it was gone or what, but for some reason we clicked around this life and humor and a big mark on my forehead, which you can't see in the show, but we just clicked. I mean, Jim and I felt like, there's not a word yet for old friends who just met. That's Jim Henson and I, and everybody. I mean, and it's just, the Muppet performers that are alive today and the ones that are gone. We're just like, man, this is my posse. I mean, I just, I felt like a Muppet, and of course they made two of them to look like me for when we sang Old Fashioned Love Song in 3-part harmony. And for years I had one of those two Muppet Paul Williamsons in my house, but he drank too, and it got awful. So we had to get rid of him.
They turned to toast, those puppets.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it was sitting in a window where the sunlight was sitting in. He just, it's like grim business.
Yeah. Wow. It's such a great episode too.
Go ahead. I was just going to say it was the introduction, the perfect introduction to those guys and those wonderful characters.
How much time was there between meeting those guys at the Muppet Show and then Emmet Otter, or at least getting the call about Emmet Otter? Were they pretty close to each other?
Right away, and then I think that I'm remembering right away, and I'd actually have to, I'm not sure of that, but I think it was almost immediately, because when did Emmet come out? Emmet was like 70.
Wait, I've got it up here. Yeah, December 4th, 1977.
Okay, 77. So I had, at that point, Stars Born had come. It was out. I know I went up to all that incidental music I did with my road band. Everything, all this stuff I did with my road band. For Emmet Otter, same. With so many of the projects. The incidental music, we just, I'd have them run the footage, and I'd sing to the guys what I wanted them to play, and they would play it, and then they'd play something better or whatever. But so yeah, and the big surprise was when he asked me to do the Muppet Movie, because Joe Raposa had this long career with Jim writing. It's Not Easy to Be Green. He was a great writer. Really got it. There was such that it was just a really solid connection between the Muppets and Raposa, and I was happily surprised to be asked to do the Muppet Movie, and the size of it made me want somebody that was really good to write the music. And that's why I asked Kenny to come in.
Great. And I mean, they obviously made the perfect choice, because not only were those songs for Emmet Otter great, but it started such a great relationship that gave us all these. I mean, almost. No, I'm not going to say almost. Every song that you've written for the Muppets has been an absolute classic. So I'm so grateful for that, and I'm so grateful for all the work that you've done for them, Paul.
Well, and and right back at you, because you keep this deal going, and keep it alive, and keep it fun, and it's who knows how much more of opportunities to write for those furry pals of mine are going to come up, but I'd love to think that there's something that we can do one more or whatever. It's just you look at your life and you stumble into some of the most amazing things you you couldn't have planned to, I wouldn't know how to plan to have gotten to any of those opportunities, but they've remained just milestones in my life. And when I'm not talking about the milestones the exception, the acceptance of the songs, I'm talking about the milestones of walking onto the set, and knowing you're going to hang with Gonzo and the gang, So it's all good. It's all good.
It's all
I'm
great.
nothing but grateful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we end every podcast, Paul, with the same questions. So I'm going to ask you just some rapid-fire questions.
Yeah.
First thing that comes to your head. Question 1. What is your favorite TV show?
Cantaloupe. No, wait a minute. I thought you were going to ask me what my favorite food was. My favorite...
I love that show, Cantaloupe.
You know what? Right now, I'm in the midst of this whole thing politically and whatever the like. Right now, it's Rachel Maddow. I love Rachel Maddow.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Would you rather be able to fly or become invisible?
Fly. Always fly. Invisible. I know how it feels to be invisible. I was an out-of-work actor in Hollywood. I'd much rather be able to fly. A new kind of light surrounds us all, and if we could, we'd all be flying. I've always felt that deep inside. We're trying. That's from a thing I did with Michel Colombier called Wings. So yeah, and it was before the group Wings, so a long time ago. But yeah, I just I'm an old skydiver. I used to when you throw yourself out of an airplane at 12,000 feet, you feel like you're flying until you open your parachute. You don't feel like you're falling. You feel like you're flying. It's fantastic.
Lovely.
It's amazing.
Is soup a food or a drink?
Is what? Say again?
Is soup a food or a drink?
Soup's a food when you do it right. A drink.
Fair enough.
A drink.
What is it when you do it wrong?
I'll tell you why a soup is not a drink. Because a drink, a drink can be dangerous. Soup can't.
All right, good choice. Good, fair enough. If a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Only if you're in the lumber business.
Excellent. This was asked... No, I enjoyed it, though. This was asked by our last guest, Sesame Street puppeteer Stacey Gordon. In just a few words, what was the crux in your life that led you to where you are right now?
She asked a very big question for this
She
rapid
did.
fire thing.
Yeah,
So we're going to get you to condense the answer.
Okay, so the crux?
The crux in your life that led you to where you are right now.
My failure at the failure that made me available for the opportunities that come up. The fact that I'm so good at not getting the job I'm trying to get, so I'm sitting at home when the phone rings and I get the job that I should be doing. I think that my picker has not has not been the best, and realism is a place that I visit. I put my toe in the water or whatever. But the fact is that when I didn't get the career I wanted as an actor, I was led to what I can do and what I love to do, and that's write songs. And that led to other opportunities to act and the like and all. But no is a gift. If you've got your heart set on something and you don't get it, if you take the mindset that, wow, so what's this? This is making me available for something. Why shouldn't it be something wonderful? If you have that mindset, there's a pretty good chance that eventually you create an energy around your life, where there is no, at this point. I mean, if the roof fell on me right now and I was gone while I'm talking to you, I've had an amazing life. I want another 20 years, but the fact is, if within a minute it was over, I had a fantastic life, and most of it has come to me because I didn't get something I wanted that would have made me unavailable.
Good answer.
The truth.
I mean, it was a big question as well, and you've condensed that answer nicely because I feel like we could have spoken about that for an hour.
Yeah.
And finally, without knowing who it is, what question would you like our next guest to answer?
Your next guest should answer. Do you think you're taking enough time to thank the people that have helped you get where you are?
Beautiful. That is such a great question.
It's a great show. It's great to do it with you guys. Joe, it's really a
Well,
pleasure to see you again. Jarrod, fantastic.
Thank you for
We
this.
need to hang and break bread sometime.
We do, please. I think this is going to sound silly, but thank you for Rainbow Connection. And I know that sounds silly, and you've done so much, but that is my favorite song of all time. This is going to sound morbid, and I'll probably take it out of the podcast. But, when my time on this earth is gone, I've said I only want 2 songs played at my funeral, and one of them is Rainbow Connection.
Wow.
Because it is my absolute favorite song of all time.
Okay, I have to ask, what's the other one?
The other one is You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon.
I love it.
I figured I need a fun one as well.
That's fantastic. I promise I'll come to the funeral and I'll sing it for you if you want me to.
Excellent. I mean, I kind of hope that doesn't happen, but
that actually is, I know it won't happen, though, because you're a young man and I'm every now and then there's a shadow in the room. I go, wait a minute, not yet, get out of here. But I really, I appreciate that, and Rainbow Connection is my wife and I were talking about it this morning. I mentioned I was going to be with you guys today and talking about Rainbow Connection, and she said it's the song that you wrote that has gone the furthest in the deepest places, and that you maybe never suspected that you would be able to touch people with your work. And so beyond grateful, and I really appreciate that, Jarrod.